welcome to the show. It's just me tonight. My brother, my partner in crime, he's off at the cottage this weekend, and he's getting some well-deserved rest. And I'm sure he'll be back next week. We'll see how it goes. I think he'll be back. If you're watching this pre-recorded on YouTube, you probably don't see, like I do this live on Twitch on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock at Coral Living, and I open up with a meditation that people can join me in if they want. But it was hilarious tonight. I had this brutal foot cramp. So if you're ever trying to meditate, you get cramps. You don't have to lose your meditation with cramps. You can just stretch it out, be intentional about it, put your focus on it, stay in the groove. But that not only did that happen, but my kids, they're hilarious. They come down. You don't hear it because I just have the music playing when I got the meditation going. All you can hear is the pitter pattering going across. One of them knocked on the door. I could hear them pulling up chairs. Even now, I can hear them wrestling upstairs, even though they know they're supposed to be being quiet. But I can only laugh. That's what being a dad's all about. And if you're trying to grow your spirituality and you've got a family and you're trying to meditate and stuff like that, you're going to have to push and grind through some of those moments. That's why I like to do most of my meditation in the morning, because that's when things are the quietest. So, yeah. A good thing is my daughter came down before I started. She goes, "Dad, did you hear that ding on your computer?" She was so proud. She added me, or she followed me on Twitch, which is nice, to know that your daughter does that. And my middle child also has a birthday tomorrow. So if you're watching Symphony, happy birthday. And Perseus, thanks for the follow. But anyway, I guess I will move on with the show for tonight. And I thought, before I just tell you what the subject is, I would tell you a story kind of in my own way that I heard this week, which I think hits on the topic at hand. And it's called Androcles and the Lion. Now, this is an ancient story. It's been retooled a bunch of times to hit on certain subjects. But I will tell this version here, which I think is probably the oldest version. But anyway, back in the day, way back in the time of emperors, I guess, and kings, there was a village, and on the outside of the village there was this giant lion, and it was getting closer and closer to the villagers over time, getting close to the village, and it was a cranky lion. It was angry, and it seemed like it was very aggressive. And it was causing lots of problems. The villagers didn't know what to do. They couldn't catch the lion. They were afraid that the lion might attack them if they left the village by themselves or something like that. But there was this fellow Androcles from the village, and he was a shepherd, and one of his sheep got out. And so he went looking for his sheep, and he got caught out in the wilderness too late at night. So he thought he would take up shack in a cave, and when he had settled himself, he started to notice stirring in the cave, and then he noticed that lion was in the same cave as him, and it was growling, and it was getting louder and closer, and Androcles was freaking out. But as the lion got closer, Androcles, instead of losing his wits and losing his way about him, he kind of hid behind a rock and observed the lion, and he noticed that the lion wasn't in rage, but that it was actually just in deep frustration and deep sorrow. It was actually kind of crying, because Androcles noticed that in the lion's paw there was a giant thorn. So he kind of edges his way towards the lion, just to, let him know that he's not going to hurt him, or, there's no malintention there. And the lion lets him get close, and Androcles gets to the lion and kind of like brushes his mane to let him know that it's okay. And then he looks at the lion's paw and he pulls out the thorn from the lion's paw. And from there on in, they become friends. But over time, Androcles, he actually gets himself in trouble with the law, and he's taken to the emperor's palace, where he's put into a coliseum of game to be executed and killed by ferocious lions. And you can already tell where this is going. They let the lion into the arena, and the lion is actually the lion that Androcles helped with the thorn in his paw. And the lion goes before Androcles and bows, and the emperor becomes so moved by this that he releases them, and they live happily ever after, I guess. I don't know how I did with that story, but anyway, I'll get to the meaning of that story in a second. But tonight's subject is all about self-reflection and / introspection. I've touched on this before, I think in my video about looking within, but I've studied a little bit more about it, and I kind of got into it a little bit more this weekend to analyze it. And in the story that I just told, the lion and Androcles, they symbolize us. The lion is the side of us that isn't self-reflected upon, that can't see the thorn in its paws. And when it's frustrated with not knowing itself and not knowing what's going on with itself, it acts out in all types of facets of life. It's unsure of its moves. It can be aggressive or sad or not understanding its emotion. And then the Androcles side of it is the person who spends time to analyze and look within and figure out what the problem is and make the proper adjustments to help oneself move forward. And you could ask yourself, like, well, why is self-reflection important? Well, I think it's important because it helps us know who we are. In my studies this week, when I was looking at self-reflection, one of the people I was watching in one of their videos on self-reflection said that to the degree we don't know ourselves is to the degree we are in fear of ourselves. And I don't know how true that is, but it is definitely something worth thinking about. And when we don't know who we are, it's amazing some of the decisions that we can make in our lives. Now, if you're looking for a way to start figuring out how to self-reflect or introspect, there are a million questions you can ask yourself. But it's also important, I think, the atmosphere, to actually take time to pull yourself out of your day-to-day life and find a place of contemplation. Find a place away from everyone where you can seriously sit down and self-reflect. I think having a place is one of the most important things about self-reflection. I know for some people, it's either going on a jog or working out in the gym. But, meditation, like what we do here, a lot, that can be, one form. I know meditation and introspection are kind of two different facets, but just sitting still and finding that quiet spot is similar. And then, starting with some good questions. Now, like I said, there's a ton of questions you can ask. And I found in my studies here 5 questions that I thought were really good These aren't my questions; they're ones that I got from other places. But a really important question to ask yourself, and this could be really, really useful for you young folks out there. The younger you start building up this practice, the better I think your life will be. But anyway, one question you could ask yourself would be, what do I really want? Because much of the things that we think we want are actual uh, social pressures put upon us to make us think that that's what we want. We live in a very materialistic culture. If you're in, a first world country, um, and 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 the media is telling you, to buy these things, and you want this big house and this big car, and you want this, awesome job, and you might actually want some of those things, but also understand that there's a lot of social pressure telling you. This could also be, come from uh, your families, your businesses where you work at. They could be feeding you, and this stuff, it seeps into your subconscious. Um, so yeah, what do you really want? Spend a few times, and you're not just going to get this, I think, like by doing this once. This is something that I think you need to work on over time. I've been doing it, I started really late in my life, really late doing this. This wasn't something that was taught to me in school. There was no class saying, you need to spend time in self-reflection. Like, I wasn't taught this. Maybe somewhat in the religious institutions that I was growing up, spending time in prayer, maybe. But that's kind of something a little different. But anyway, on to the second question you could ask yourself. And you could write this one. You could write these down if you wanted. So one was, what do I really want? Two is, what am I avoiding? Now, these are like the painful questions. These are the questions sometimes, even when you say it, you go, ugh, like, what am I avoiding? You could be avoiding looking at your finances because you like to spend a little bit more money than what you actually have. And if you actually looked at your finances and looked at all the bills that need to be paid and stuff like that going down the road, that might be bothersome to you. Lots of people do that one. I've been guilty of doing that in my life. So what are you avoiding? And then question 3, what am I most grateful for? And you might be, spurred. We all have those classic things that we're taught that, watch yourself pick up on, like, all the things that that society thinks you should be grateful for. We all go, I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful that I have a roof over on my head and food to eat. And you might very well be genuinely grateful for those things, but just pay attention to the bullshit that you might find yourself in when you're doing that. For some of you, what you're grateful for might not be as clean and beautiful as that. Some of those other things. Another scary question to ask yourself could be, what am I afraid of? And there's lots of things. You could be afraid of losing your job. You could be afraid to step on a scale because there might be a few pounds there more than what of course there's things that you're afraid of. And then lastly, what are my biggest strengths and flaws? And you might need to write this stuff down. Now, I haven't done this. I was actually talking with my mother not too long ago about what I was going to be talking about tonight. And we both were talking about this journal thing. Lots of self-help guys say that you want to be writing all this stuff down, and I'm the only thing that I'm reluctant to write all this stuff down is like when you're really authentic and you're being really honest. What if it fell into the wrong hands? That's the only thing I'm worried about with journals. It's like, what a, better put a padlock on that bad boy. Uh, because, when you let it all out and someone, oopsie daisies, comes across your journal, you might not want, anyone to know what you're writing in your journal. So yeah, me and my mom, we kind of laughed about that. But you could burn it right away. I don't know if you could find some way to write all this stuff down. But even if you got into a practice of taking, 5 minutes a day, it might not even have to be every day. You could schedule it on your calendar for every other day or twice a week or something like that, where you actually just took some time to go through those 5 questions. And after you've gone through those 5 questions, there are so many other big questions you could be asking yourself. Like, how am I ungenuine or dishonest? What is my life purpose? Big questions. There's so many questions, you could ask. Over the last years, by doing this, I really found that it's helped push me in a direction in my life that I probably, I don't know if I'd be down now if I didn't take time to do these things. And if you're young, oh my God, now is the time to start asking these questions. Because if you're not asking these questions, are you just winging it? Are you going to wing life? Your one chance at we'll just see what happens. Or, I'll let my life purpose come to me, or I don't know. You can take all this with a grain of salt. I'm just chatting into a camera. This week in the spiritual content field, I was talking with a guy on Twitch, and he had brought up voodoo and hoodoo, and I had never even heard of hoodoo. I was like, what the hell is hoodoo? Apparently, it's just that he was saying anyway. I don't know if this is true, but he was saying that hoodoo is just another side of voodoo, but it's more free. You don't have to go up a hierarchy in hoodoo. It's more just like your own type of spirituality. So I looked into voodoo. I went online and I looked up some things about voodoo. There wasn't as much content on there as I thought there would be. A lot of voodoo, it stems out of the Caribbean, and it takes with it a bunch of African spiritual traditions mixed with colonial Catholicism, right? Because a lot of the slaves that were brought from Africa over into the Caribbean, they took their African faith and stuff like that and added pieces of Catholicism to the religion. So they're very open. They're not like the Abrahamic religions that are like, we have our way and this is the one true faith and it's right. Voodoo more kind of absorbs spirituality into it and then morphs it into, it seems, its own things. Now they believe in God. They believe in one God, but that it's kind of separate from humanity, and it's it reveals itself kind of like in Hinduism through other smaller gods. And so that's why in Buddhism, some of the they pray to some of the saints, and they'll make statues to their gods, and they'll do dances and stuff for their gods, and they have all types of ritual things and stuff like that. I didn't get too deep into it, but it seems like the main place for voodoo is in, what is it? This Dominican, but the other side of the island, which I hate. So I think it's big in Haiti. that's probably like the biggest spot, and then parts of the Dominican, and then it even made its way up to one of the southern states. I want to say Louisiana, but I don't know if I'm right, if that's even a state, but Louisiana in the States. So there's some voodoo going on there, but it's spread out. I watched a Vice documentary of voodoo people in New York City. So it's an interesting, seems like an interesting religion, and maybe I will look into hoodoo in another one of these little spiritual segments. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything for tonight. So hopefully that spurs something in you. Maybe some self-reflection now would be a good time in your life. If it you feel it trigger something within and be like, you know what, maybe I should do a little bit more of that. Well then, hey, you can give it a try, and let me know. See where it takes you. I'd like to hear from anyone who wants to put something down in the comments about their self-reflection or any spiritual subjects. If there's something that you want to see on this channel covered, I would love to talk about it. And I know when my partner comes back, he would love to talk about it too. I want to thank everyone for the support. If you like the show, you can hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitch. And you can hit the like button and share with your friends if you think there's some good content out there. So anyway, I guess I'll end it here. And until next week, stay spiritual.